27 EU members officially recognize a Palestinian state, they are united in supporting a two-state solution and an end to the war in Gaza. Speaking at the United Nations, Costa has noted recent recognition of Palestine by France, Andorra, Belgium, Luxembourg, Malta, and Monaco. They have all brought the majority of EU countries on board. Although some members feel it's not the right time for official recognition, they all back the goal of peace. Many European nations, including France, UK, Portugal, have recently recognized the Palestinian state. Now we go back to our guest discussion with Dan Perry. He's a world affairs analyst, joins us live from Tel Aviv. Thank you, Dan, for staying with us. Now, some of our guests have also criticized and shed a question upon whether it's too late to recognize Palestine and hope that it's going to bring peace, it's going to change things. What's your analysis?
I agree that recognition itself is not going to actually bring about a state. The recognition in some ways is nonsensical because, you know, there is a internationally accepted definition of statehood, and that is found in the Montevideo Convention of 1933, and it involves recognized borders over a defined population and a government with the ability to administer and tend to and secure those borders and that population. And none of this applies in the case of so-called Palestine, which is not just in the West Bank occupied by Israel, but in Gaza occupied by Hamas, that does not want a Palestinian state, but instead wants to destroy Israel and create one state over the entire territory. Hamas's entire raison d'etre is to fight efforts by Israel and the Palestinian Authority to partition the land into two states. That's why they've been doing terrorism for the past 35 years, to get the Israelis themselves to not trust the Palestinians and to oppose the concessions needed to enable that state to arise. But I think if we take a step back, we need to understand something fundamental. There is a narrative that basically says that a Palestinian state is some kind of favor that Israel is doing to the Palestinians or a concession to the Arabs, and, you know, and it exacts a price from Israel. It does exact a territorial price from Israel, but the net result for Israel is positive. Israel has to get rid of these territories, because if it does not, then the combined territory of Israel plus the West Bank plus Gaza is half Arab. And that's either going to be not a democracy or it won't be a Jewish-dominated state. And the Zionist project wants to establish a country with a Jewish majority that can be democratic but still Jewish, because most people are Jews the way most people in Poland are Poles. That can't work unless a Palestinian state comes about. And therefore, through that prism, we may slowly come to understand that a Palestinian state, perhaps more than a favor to the Palestinian Arabs, is a necessity of Israel. The question is, though, how to bring that about. And again, these recognitions at this time, which may strengthen Hamas, which is an opponent of the Palestinian state, highly ironically, makes a Palestinian state less likely. This is the irony that these well-meaning but probably naive Europeans and others, the Australians, the Canadians, need to be confronted by. And the only way around it is for them at this point to condition any further assistance to Palestine, including reconstruction of Gaza, on Hamas disarming and going away. This becomes the central point that the world community must attend to.
Right. And then building on that, what do you think, what challenges does the EU face in balancing support for Palestine and Israel with maintaining strong diplomatic relations, particularly with Israel?
Well, they're never going to have good relations with this Israeli government. And maybe they shouldn't. This Israeli government is at loggerheads with not only much of the world and certainly with Europe, but also with its own population. The majority of Israelis, well over 70%, want an end to the war in Gaza, not because they want Hamas to remain, but because they want to rescue the hostages. And they're noticing that the strategy of the war leads to a forever insurgency with nonstop death and destruction. They want a different strategy. So the government of Israel is problematic. But with Israel in general, if the EU and the recognizers of Palestine want good relations with Israel writ large, perhaps with a new moderate government that seems likely to arise after next year's election in Israel, they're going to have to really understand that all progress goes through the roadblock of Hamas, that Hamas must be disarmed and made to go away. This needs to be the be-all and end-all of their efforts going forward.
With that, thank you very much, Dan Perry, for always joining us and sharing that insight all the way from Israel. Now we stay on this topic in Gaza